If I don't, I'll talk too long, way too long. I want to read something to you first. I read this at our meeting the other night, and I think it's very important to understand this. They tell us, sir, that we are weak, unable to cope with so formidable an adversary. But when shall we be stronger? Will it be next week? Will it be next year? Will it be when we are totally disarmed and a guard stationed in every house? Shall we gather strength by irresolution and inaction? Sir, we are not weak if we make proper use of those means which the God of nature has planned in our power. How many people know who said that? Anybody? Patrick Henry, because you were there. Patrick Henry said that. It certainly applies to what we're going through today. I tell you, Mr. Yearod, I appreciate what he said. I couldn't agree with him more. He probably saved me a lot of time. So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and tell you a little bit about myself. For those of you that don't know me, I think I see a lot of familiar faces here tonight. That makes me feel more at home, so I really appreciate that. But I was a U.S. Marine for 8 years, and I was a Desert Storm veteran. And I did most of the work we did in Marines was done for the intelligence service and done for the CIC on the aircraft carriers as forward observers. That's what most of the work entailed. While in there, though, I was cross-trained as a battlefield medic. And then after I got out of the Marines, I actually went to EMT school and became an EMT. It's interesting that our Sheriff's Service here actually maintains the ambulance service, so I really think that ties in well. I had 3 years as a Republican delegate. I worked with Jesse Helms for 3 years. And with Jesse Helms, what we were doing, we were defending soldiers who were having problems with the UN. There's been a lot of talk here tonight about the UN. I have worked alongside the UN. I worked alongside them in Kuwait. They weren't very nice. They didn't cooperate with anybody. And I've studied the UN for about 18 years now. So I'm very familiar with them and all their subordinate operations, NGOs, and all of those things. We might talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But I'm also a husband of 20 years, and I have 3 children. And I'm a God-fearer. That helps anybody. But I've been married for 20 years, and I have not regretted it one day. I had a very good marriage, a good wife, and very well-behaved children. As mentioned already, we need to understand, a lot of people in our country do not understand what the job of the sheriff even is. In fact, a lot of sheriffs don't even understand what their job is, but some of them are learning the hard way today, unfortunately. But also, it has come to my attention through a little study that many sheriffs and chief of police in the last 6 months, I think it's increased now over 600, but it's getting close to 700 now in the last 4 to 6 months have resigned their office. And that's because they don't know how to deal with federal intrusion. They don't know how to deal with the monster that's looming over us right now from the Obama administration. They don't have the guts to stand up to it. But in some cases, a lot of them have been in offices for a long time, and they really don't understand how to deal with it. They just don't know. And so instead of trying to keep their oath of office, which is to protect the people first and foremost, to protect their liberties and their freedoms, they decide to bow out and leave it to somebody else. And that's not me. The sheriff answers to the people first. According to the Supreme Court of the United States, the sheriff answers to the people, not to the federal government, not to the state government, not to the county government. Now, he is responsible to work with the county government, and he certainly has to cooperate with the county government or nothing works properly. You certainly have to do that. But one of the things that a lot of sheriffs now are doing in their counties, and there's actually a program now for sheriffs to teach them how to deal with these things that are coming on them now. And a lot of sheriffs are passing policies in their counties, and they're getting the county commissioners and the county itself to pass bills and resolutions to deal with this by not allowing some federal agencies in the county at all. But my policy would be, and a lot of other sheriffs are doing this, I didn't just create this, this is actually being done in a lot of states, in a lot of counties, would be that any federal agency that comes into this county has to go through the sheriff's department before they even speak to one citizen in this county. They have to take So if in the Renee's case, if a federal agent shows up from the DOE or the Sustainable Development crowd, that's almost a dirty word to me, sustainable development, if you understand what it is. It's not, there's nothing sustainable about it. There's some good ideas in that thing, but they don't implement them correctly. But in Renee's case, what she should be able to do is call the sheriff's department when they show up. And the sheriff's department should roll a deputy out there immediately and inform them that they must come to the sheriff's department first. And not only that, there are probably some situations concerning some things where they should also see the county commissioners too. Absolutely. I mean, it would include the county commissioners and the sheriff. Because the county commissioners and the sheriff's office together is what really protects the people. They have to work together to do that. But the sheriff is the muscle behind it. And you have to have a man that will stand up. If the county commissioners want to stand against them, then the sheriff is the gun, if you will, not literally, but the gun, if you will, that takes care of the problem. You know, one of the issues that's been brought up in the campaign is the manpower issues for this county. And, you know, and then you hear some candidates get up and say, well, I'm going to get more manpower, more equipment, more of this and more of that. Well, that means more money, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, we all can think better than that, can't we? We know better. There's not going to be any more money. And we're not going to buy any new stuff with no money. And that does not scare me at all. I've listened to that during several meetings now, and I've been thinking about that. And you can only do so much with what you have. And that's where the county commissioners, again, they're trying to scratch every single thing out of every single dollar they can get. But it only goes so far. So what do you do if you're a sheriff's department? What does a sheriff's department need to enforce the law? I'd like to bring some common sense to this issue. What does a sheriff's department need to enforce the law?
Citizen support.
Well, they need citizen support, just stay inside the sheriff's department for just a second. Do they need more money and more equipment? No. Now, there will be times when equipment will break down, and of course it'll have to be replaced and things like that. But we don't need more equipment and more manpower necessarily. It's a big county, I understand that. What we need is men in the sheriff's department who will uphold the oath of office and do their job. And when you do that, all of a sudden you don't need so much manpower anymore. When you have strong enforcement and people and a sheriff's department that is loyal to the people, that understands that every deputy understands they are loyal to the people, they are working for the people, things will work a lot better and a lot more efficiently. And I know there's a lot of things going on inside the sheriff's department now that there's money being wasted. There's time being wasted. And one thing I've thought about over the last few days hearing this, and they use this tactic to try to scare you. I get so tired of hearing people using money on you. People try to use money to scare you to death all the time. I'm not scared of money. Never had much, so what am I scared of it for? So there's no reason to be scared of something you don't have a lot of, is there? But they try to use that. Even the federal government uses money to scare us all the time. We don't need to be scared. There's no reason to be scared of money. You do what you can with what you have. It's that simple. It's amazing how they don't realize that the average tax-paying citizen at home has to balance their checkbook and has to live off of what they have. For some reason, the government's having an awful hard time doing that. And all I hear is more, 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 more. Well, we don't need more. We need responsible people in our offices. We need patriots and statesmen in our offices who will do what it takes to run the county with what they have. And I told one person asked me on the street the other day, I was at the farmer's market, what would you do if the county ran out of money? What would I do? I'd work for free. If there was no pay, I would work for free. Because one thing I learned in the Marines was duty comes first before anything. If they couldn't even pay me and I became sheriff, I would uphold my oath of office because an oath means something. That means you stand for something. And it goes beyond what you get paid. There's several issues that have been brought up.